I never imagined my wealthy father would let me choose a new mom until I picked the maid instead. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with tension. I stood in our grand, marble-floored foyer, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. My father, with his perfectly tailored suit and cold, calculating eyes, watched me from the top of the staircase. The sunlight glinted off his watch, making it seem like time itself was mocking me. I could feel the weight of his decision pressing down on me. The maid, Lydia, was cleaning the ornate chandelier nearby, her movements graceful despite the dust that clung to her clothes. She had been our family's secret. A kind heart in a house filled with shadows. While the others saw her as invisible, I noticed the warmth in her smile, the way her laugh echoed softly, like a bright song in the silence of our mansion. But now, I was hearing all the wrong things. Whispers danced around me, from stiff-lipped relatives clutching their pearls, to distant friends who barely knew my struggle. What a scandal! I felt their eyes darting, judging, appraising my every move. The promise of a new beginning warred with the fear of losing everything I knew. How could I explain this? That choosing Lydia felt more right than any of the women my father had paraded before me, perfect, polished strangers. In that moment, enveloped in rich mahogany and crystal, a voice inside me shouted, "This is your chance. Choose love over status." And so I did. But as I glanced back at Lydia, my heart trembled with uncertainty. This decision was bold, but was it also foolish? The silence of the room deepened. I could hear my own heartbeat as I approached the steps. Would my choice bring freedom or ruin? The room erupted with gasps, the tension snapping like a taut wire. I saw my father's expression harden, his jaw clenched. What had I unleashed with that choice? The fear mingled with exhilaration. In that moment, I felt alive and terrified. Would this decision shatter my world, or be the start of something beautiful? I couldn't shake the sense that I was standing on the edge of a great abyss. The anticipation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I stepped closer to Lydia, the commotion around me faded into a dull roar. Her eyes were wide, filled with a mix of shock and understanding. I thought I saw a flicker of relief, but it quickly morphed into anxiety, as if she, too, understood the gravity of our decision. My father's silence sent shivers down my spine. It felt like an impending storm, gathering clouds that threatened to unleash chaos. Is this some kind of joke, Emma? My father's voice shattered the silence, sharp and cold. You cannot be serious. A maid? Have you lost all regard for your family's dignity? The customary disdain he displayed was now laced with something deeper, betrayal, perhaps. But Lydia didn't back down. She met his gaze, chin raised slightly, and for a moment, her quiet courage ground the whirlwind around us. Sir, I wasn't talking to you, he interrupted, the contempt clear in his voice. The word stung like a slap to Lydia's face, but she stood unwavering. If I may enough. My father's shout echoed through the foyer, and the guests flinched. I felt a swell of anger rise within me. This isn't about you or how you feel. You don't belong in this discussion. Yet, the protective instinct I felt for Lydia was stronger than ever. And what about what I want? I blurted out, the tremor in my voice betraying my newfound bravado. My father's hardened expression faltered for a heartbeat before settling back into an icy facade. Lydia has been everything this family needs and more, I continued, my pulse racing. She deserves to be recognized beyond just being a maid. With every word, a voice inside me urged me forward, to break the chains of my upbringing that dictated who I should choose and love. The tumult around us faded into a hush, punctuated by Lydia's shaky breath beside me. "Emma, you don't have to do this," she whispered, her voice almost a plea. "You've already sacrificed enough." "No," I said fiercely, my heart thumping loudly in my chest. "For once, this is about me. It's about following my heart, no matter the cost." A silence lingered, heavy and thick with unspoken words. I could feel the tension moving among the guests, their eyes flickering between us like candles, dancing on the edge of understanding and judgment. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. The delicate sound of glass shattering cut through the room as Aunt Margaret, my father's sister, dropped her champagne flute. The crimson liquid pooled at her feet, a stark visual to the chaos that erupted around us. Gasps filled the space, but my instincts shifted to the urgency of the moment. "Perhaps we should clean that up," I said, a lightness in my voice that felt wrong in the somber atmosphere, but it sparked a hesitant laugh from someone in the corner. Lydia glanced at me, an eyebrow raised in skepticism but ultimately grateful. "Lydia," Aunt Margaret finally spoke, her voice harsh as rusty metal. "You belong in the kitchen, not in this debate. You will never be family." Suddenly, anger surged through me again. "But she knows what family means far more than you ever could, Aunt Margaret," I exclaimed. "She has cared for us when others have abandoned us. She has seen the good in us when the world around us didn't." My voice was shaky, but the clarity of my conviction shimmered like a beacon. With that, a small murmur started amongst the guests, an undercurrent of agreement brushing through the room. But then my father surged forward, his face a storm of fury. "You're defying me, Emma. You are disgraceful. Do you understand what you're doing to this family's name? Do you understand what you're doing to me?" I shot back, surprisingly steady now. The faces around us reflected shock and confusion, but one spirit shone through. Mr. Reynolds, our old gardener, quietly nodded from the back, a flicker of something akin to pride in his weary eyes. In that moment, I felt a small warmth rise in my chest. A sense of belonging I had lain dormant for so long. I had allies, even if they were whispered through the shades of this grand house. But then a chilling thought gripped me, cutting through the dawn of hope. What if choosing Lydia meant losing everything else? My friends? My connections? My father? The futures that had always been laid out for me like a red carpet? In a heartbeat, uncertainty crept back, tightening around me, breathless with laden dread. I could almost feel the floor beneath me shift, and all I could do was hold on to the light beside me, glancing at Lydia whose eyes screamed uncertainty. Was this battle worth the potential heartbreak? The quiet fear in her gaze echoed my own. "No matter what happens, I want you to know," I whispered to her as the tension in the room simmered, "you are worth fighting for." The words hung heavy in the air, a fragile vow anchored in the ferocity of the moment. We stood on the precipice together, time unraveling before us like thread from an unspooled spool, but just then, an unexpected figure emerged from the shadows of our drama, a familiar face I had thought was long gone, someone I had never hoped to see again. My breath hitched, a mix of confusion and dread washing over me. My mother had stepped through the door. The one I mourned for, the one who had shattered our family into shambles, stood grinning as if I had called her from beyond the abyss. "Emma," she said, her voice like velvet dipped in thorns. "I hope you've missed me." The room erupted into an uproar, a cacophony of disbelief washing over the guests. I stood frozen, eyes locked on my mother, my heart pounding a rhythm of confusion and betrayal. This was supposed to be a moment I had envisioned countless times, filled with longing and questions, but now it felt utterly surreal, as if my reality had warped into a twisted version of itself. "Mother?" I managed to choke out, my voice raw with emotion. I had spent years grappling with the void she left behind, constructing an image of her in my mind, one that now seemed to flicker like a faulty light bulb. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, darling," she said, stepping closer, her smile painted across her lips like a mask. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out about your little gathering? I couldn't resist seeing how you've grown, especially with such intriguing choices being made." Her gaze slid to Lydia, and my chest tightened at the way her eyes sparkled with judgment. "Stay away from her," I barked, every instinct in me screaming to shield Lydia from the venom I could sense lurking beneath my mother's polished surface. This was not the reunion I had dreamt of, it was an incursion, a new layer of chaos thrust upon my already tumultuous world. My father seemed momentarily stunned, caught between his historical disdain for my mother and the disarray unfolding in front of him. In his hesitation, I found an unwelcomed spark of hope. Perhaps this was my opportunity to reclaim my story, to push back against the life they had planned for me, but my mother waltzed further into the room, as if ignoring the tempest she had unleashed. "Oh, Emma, dear, you don't really think you can choose a maid over family, do you?" Her voice dropped into a honeyed tone that made my skin crawl. "Think of your father's name, the sacrifices we've made for you." Lydia shifted beside me, her discomfort palpable. I could feel her uncertainty pouring through our linked hands, the weight of my choices settling on both of us. "Don't you dare treat her as if she's less than you," I said, surprising even myself with the fierce conviction in my voice. "She has more heart and strength than anyone in this room, including you." "Oh honey, you're cute when you're passionate," my mother replied, dismissing my words with a wave of her delicate hand. "But the world doesn't run on passion alone. It runs on status, on money, on power." Every word cut deeper than the last, twisting the knife of doubt within me. What if my mother was right? What if I truly was deluding myself? "Family is more than your name," I insisted, my voice trembling slightly as I felt the companionship of the room begin to falter. I glanced at Lydia, whose eyes were brimming with uncertainty and hurt. The storm inside me raged on, buffeted by the fear of losing what I had fought to defend. "Emma," my father finally spoke, his voice low, almost pleading though still edged with anger. "You don't know the consequences of your choices. You think you're doing this for love, but it's reckless." But I could hardly focus on his words, I was trapped in the confusing maze of emotion my mother had carved out. Each step she took dominated the room, casting a shadow that seemed to encase all of us. "Think of all the doors this can open, all the opportunities you'll embrace once you let go of this folly," she continued, now directly addressing Lydia. "You wouldn't want to be the cause of Emma losing everything, would you?" The air grew thick with tension, as if the delicate balance of hope I had held onto was slipping away like grains of sand. I could see Aunt Margaret's face contorting in disgust, the guests murmuring confusedly amongst themselves, and my father's growing desperation cast long fingers of apprehension over us all. My mother stepped closer, invading my space. "Is she really worth losing your future for, Emma? You belong here, not in this dream world of love and nobility." In that moment, something inside me snapped. "You think you can come back now, after all these years?" I shot back, pain lacing my voice. "You think the past doesn't matter? That this is just a game for you to play? I've spent my life learning to survive without you, and look what it's cost me." "Emma," Lydia whispered, a plea laced through her voice, yet I could feel the rift between us growing. The weight of my choices bore down on me, and I could almost feel the room tilt as doubts poured into my heart, but then it happened. In the shifting chaos, Lydia squeezed my hand tighter, a silent affirmation that there was still strength between us despite it all. It was a reminder of everything we had been through, everything we had fought against to peel back the layers of convention. I turned to her, my heart swelling with a cocktail of fear and determination. Just as I opened my mouth to voice my commitment to her, to declare that our journey was far from over, a newly arrived guest stepped through the door. "Emma," the newcomer called, a familiar voice echoing across the charged room, halting my thoughts. "I heard there was a party, but it looks like I missed all the fun." And just like that, my world shattered yet again. It was Daniel, my childhood friend, the one I had secretly loved but lost to the shadows of time and distance. He stood there, eyes wide, taking in the scene unfolding with a mix of delight and confusion. Everything I had started to build, the foundations of my newfound courage, felt unstable. My heart raced as I caught Lydia's worried gaze shifting between the two of us. Would this sudden reappearance complicate things even further? Could my past now haunt my future in ways I never envisioned? As I searched Daniel's face for answers, the air crackled with unspoken words, and I wondered if my longing for love had just become an invitation for heartbreak. The silence that blanketed the room felt electric, charged with the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. All eyes shifted to Daniel, whose presence was both a balm and a dagger. The moments that followed were an agonizing blur. I could see Lydia's expression shift subtly, a kaleidoscope of confusion, anger, and hurt danced across her features, highlighting just how fragile the thread that tethered us together had become. "Daniel?" I finally managed to say, the word slipping out in disbelief. Memories of our shared laughter and secrets flooded my mind, reminders of a time when carefree days felt eternal and love was simple. "What are you doing here?" "Emma, I just dropped by to see how you've been," he replied, an easy smile on his face, but his eyes bore a deeper curiosity. "I heard about this gathering from my mother. I didn't mean to crash anything." His gaze flitted around the room, taking in my mother's icy demeanor, my father's barely concealed rage, and the awkwardness that danced between Lydia and me. "What is going on?" The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Lydia's grip on my hand tightened, and the warmth of her skin sent a rush of grounding emotion through me amidst the chaos. This was more than just a reunion, it was a battlefield, where loyalty and love collided in a violent storm. "I wish I could explain," I breathed, barely conscious of my words as I stepped away from the chagrin of the moment, taking a step towards Daniel. His essence had the power to pull me back to a simpler state, away from the complexities that now surrounded me. "There's so much history. History that seems to be unraveling right now," he said softly, his awareness piercing through the fog of tension. "Whatever it is, I'm here for you, Emma. Always have been." It was a small lifeline, a flicker of hope in the overwhelming darkness that had begun to swirl around me. But as comforting as Daniel's words were, they also stirred an old pain, the kind that emerges from unwrapping layers of suppressed emotions. "But what about you?" "You left," I replied, my heart heavy with unsaid sentiments. "You chose your own path without me." His expression faltered, a crack forming in his bravado. "I had to. There were things I couldn't face back then." There it was, the uncharted territory laden with unresolved feelings that we had steered clear of for so long. The undercurrents between us had always been there, and now, with my mother's intrusion, I felt it bubble dangerously close to the surface. That I turned back to Lydia. Each heartbeat echoed the conflict that churned within me, but her eyes bore a fierce determination. Even in this confusing moment, she stood anchor for me, a lighthouse shining through the fog of uncertainty. I needed to say something profound, something that would heal the cracks spreading between us. "I need both of you," I confessed, desperation creeping into my voice. "I need you, Daniel, to be the friend I've lost, and I need you, Lydia, to be the love I've found." At my admission, the room held its breath. Daniel stepped forward, a look of understanding and regret illuminating his face. "You'll always have me, Emma. No matter what." Yet my mother's laughter cut through the air, sharp and mocking. "Ah, the drama of young love," she chimed, her tone dripping with disdain. "But can't you see, dear? They're merely distractions from what really matters. You are meant for something far greater than this teenage love affair." The venom in her words only fueled the fire that was beginning to burn inside me. "Love isn't just a distraction, Mother," I asserted, the urgency in my voice resonating with the very core of who I had become in her absence. "It's everything. It's what makes us human." "Then perhaps being human is your downfall," she countered, her eyes glinting with satisfaction. "You see, Emma, I did you a favor by staying away. Now, you have the chance to reclaim what you lost, to embrace the life that is rightfully yours. A life devoid of love, devoid of trust. The realization struck me like a blow, and the vacuum of uncovering such a truth threatened to pull me under. Rightfully mine? I echoed, my words laced with bitterness as I glanced back at Lydia, whose eyes glistened with concern. What about what I want? What about what I've chosen? Just then, in a break of the mounting tension, a soft voice arose from the corner of the room. Maybe what you want isn't the issue, a fresh-faced woman said, stepping forward, her expression earnest. Maybe it's about what you need. All heads turned toward her, including my mother's, an irate frown breaking over her features. The sudden shift in attention was a welcome distraction, though I could hardly grasp the unexpected shift that lay before me. Anya? I exclaimed, astonished at my old friend's appearance. Where had she been, and why at this moment? What are you doing here? Emma, please, she implored, her voice steady. You're surrounded by people who don't truly understand you. But I do. I've been watching you from afar, knowing this day would come. Watching? My brow furrowed. What do you mean? I've witnessed the battles you've faced, your struggle against the family that has dictated your every step, she spoke, a gleam of tenacity in her eyes. And I'm here, Emma, to remind you that you have choices. The gravity of her words settled over me, a sudden illumination amidst the tempest swirling within the room. Choices, I repeated, feeling the weight of newfound possibilities rush forth. But as I locked eyes with Lydia, an unspoken fear flickered between us. Could I truly embrace this power of choice in this burdensome arena? Or would doing so only lead to more chaos? As the tension morphed into an unexpected alliance, I sensed that everything was shifting, but my heart raced with uncertainty. With my mother's sneer still potent in the air and Daniel's hopeful charm at my side, the road before me felt hauntingly intricate, like a web I could barely navigate. Then, a phone buzzed from my pocket, a sound piercing through the charged atmosphere. With hesitant fingers, I retrieved it, and the screen illuminated with a message that shook me to my core. Emma, we need to talk. It's about your mother and things you don't know. Meet me in the garden. Now. The sender was unclear, but the urgency pricked at my heart. A chill ran down my spine. Could the secrets awaiting me be hidden within my mother's return? And would uncovering them push me further from everything I'd fought to hold on to? I glanced around the room, torn between the past and the future, between the love I had fought to protect and the life that was thrust upon me. It was time to make a choice. But as I turned to leave, a voice called out. Emma! Don't go! And the truth behind those words could very well shatter what remained of my fragile, swirling world. The garden was cloaked in shadows, the evening air heavy with unshed secrets and the scent of damp earth. My heart thrummed wildly as I pushed the door open, the creaking sound amplifying my trepidation. If Daniel represented comfort and Lydia symbolized my newfound love, then the inexplicable message had become an ominous invitation, coaxing me into an unknown abyss. As I stepped outside, the once familiar garden felt foreign. Only a year ago, it was a sanctuary where I would retreat to escape the noise of my mother's relentless expectations. Now, it held the essence of an unraveling tapestry, each thread pulling away from the fabric of my life. A chill pricked at my arms, but it wasn't just the evening breeze, it was the anticipation of what I might uncover. I walked cautiously down the stone path, each step echoing the conflict in my heart. The moonlight cast silver beams upon the expansive garden, illuminating lingering flowers that had not yet surrendered to autumn. Underneath a sprawling oak, a figure emerged, a silhouette familiar yet distant. Anya, I whispered, disbelief clinging to my tone. You followed me? Why? She stepped into the light, her brow furrowed with concern. I knew you'd come out here after the message. I had to make sure you were safe. Safe? From what? My voice trembled, shadows of doubt creeping into my heart. What is going on, Anya? She inhaled deeply, collecting her thoughts. Emma, it's about your mother. She hasn't been what she appears to be. There are things you don't know, and they could affect everything you hold dear. A swell of dread surged inside me. You mean the things I don't know about my family? Is this about my father? Or is it about you? What do you have to do with any of this? No, not me, she said, her voice steady but her eyes flickering with unspoken fear. It's about the decisions your mother made long before you were born. Decisions that involve your father and me. My breath hitched. You? Yes. There's a connection. More than you realize. I'm not just your friend, Emma. She hesitated, nerve clawing at her conviction. I was involved with your family long ago. When I found out about what was happening, I distanced myself to protect you. But now it's too much to ignore. You need to know the truth. My stomach twisted into knots, the weight of her words crashing over me like a wave. What truth? Just tell me. Anya stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Your mother had a choice to make. The day your father became wealthy, something was promised to her, a price for a lifestyle, a position. And you know how she has always emphasized the importance of status. But that promise came with dark strings attached. Confusion clouded my thoughts. What kind of strings? Strings that would bind her to the past, a past filled with broken dreams, including my own, she explained. The loyalty she claims to uphold has always come at a cost. The maid you loved, the one who raised you before you could remember? She was more than a caretaker, she was everything your mother longed to be, the mother who loved you unconditionally without greed. Anya's words hung in the air, heavy with implications. The warmth I felt towards Lydia suddenly exploded into a firestorm of confusion. You mean my entire upbringing is a lie? My mother traded her integrity for wealth, for status? The truth is deeper than that, Emma, Anya implored. And what's more is that this choice, your choice, could redefine everything. The weight of her revelation bore down on my chest. Just when I thought my emotional foundation had been laid bare, it crumbled beneath me, revealing a chasm of uncertainty. What choice? Your mother has been preparing for a moment like this, ever since she returned. She wants to use her influence over you, but I believe that by understanding the past, you can make your own decisions without being shackled to her will. You need to confront her. A stunning realization washed over me. Confront? But what if she denies it? What if she uses this against me? I will be right beside you, Anya promised, her eyes alight with determination. You need to pressure her, challenge her. Force the truth into the light so it can't be obstructed. You deserve to stand firm where she thrived in deception. There it was, the flicker of hope in a world clouded by uncertainty. Perhaps I held more power than I thought. And yet, as courage surged in my veins, a solitary dread lingered. The sting of my mother's derision was enough to summon my fears. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the garden entrance, the outline of Lydia silhouetted against the moonlight, her expression a tempest of concern. Emma. There you are. Lydia? I stepped forward, my heart lurching. I don't say anything. Come inside. Your mother, she's been looking for you. She's angry. She hesitated, the tremor in her voice underscoring the urgency of the moment. As Lydia implored me to return, Anya's eyes locked onto mine, a silent understanding passing between us. Here was my moment. A moment that could unravel the threads of my family's past, a chance to confront those whose choices had forged this battle of love and loyalty, but what remained twisted within my heart was not just strength, it was fear. What if I expose everything, only to watch it all fall apart? I asked, my voice cracking. Anya stepped back, allowing me a moment's reprieve, her gaze steadfast. It's only a choice for you, Emma. What do you want to fight for? Before I could answer, Lydia grasped my hand, pulling me gently but insistently toward the door. We need to go now. It's not safe here. As we turned to leave, Anya called out, her voice laced with urgency, "Remember, Emma. Your choices will determine your path. Don't let anyone take that from you." With those words echoing behind me, I felt the weight of impending uncertainty looming. My heart raced, caught between the oppressive shadows of my past and the flickering lights of possibility. As we stepped back inside, I wondered, could I truly stand against my mother's will, or would I be swallowed whole by the pain of lost connections? The moment I crossed the threshold, Lydia's grip tightened, a silent promise binding us as we faced the impending confrontation. But in that instant, I realized, fighting for the truth might mean losing everything: love, safety, and perhaps the essence of who I thought I was. And as my gaze locked with Lydia's, I understood the countless battles that lay ahead, each choice I would bear pressurized against the backdrop of my mother's twisted intentions. Only one thing was certain: whatever lay in wait, I was not ready. Yet, unwilling to back down, I took a breath and stepped into the storm's eye, feeling the first tremor of an impending clash. In that spiraling moment, the course of my life was set upon a trajectory from which there could be no return. The silence inside the house was suffocating, broken only by the distant ticking of the ornate clock in the hallway. Time seemed to move differently within these walls, each second stretching into eternity as I was propelled toward the inevitable confrontation. Lydia remained close beside me, her warmth a reminder that I was not entirely alone. But her presence did little to assuage the tempest brewing inside me. "Emma." My mother's voice cut through the air with a sharpness that sent a chill racing down my spine. "Where have you been?" I exchanged a fleeting glance with Lydia, who gave me a reassuring nod, but I could see the concern etched in her features. I needed that unyielding strength now more than ever. "I needed some air," I managed to say, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. "Air?" My mother scoffed, her sarcasm slicing through the thick tension. She appeared from the foyer, her silhouette stark against the bright glow of the chandelier overhead, illuminating the dark shadows cast by her often disapproving face. "Do you understand the kind of chaos you create for this family? There's no time for your childish whims." "Childish whims?" I shot back, the defiance igniting a fire within me. "You're the one who has built a life on lies, Mother." Her brows furrowed, a flicker of surprise momentarily flashing across her face before melting into a mask of cold anger. "What has gotten into you? This is not the time for rebellion. You have responsibilities to uphold." There it was, the weight of expectation glaring down like an unyielding force. Responsibilities to whom? My voice barely broke above a whisper, but it held the steadiness I yearned to maintain. "To you? To the perfect picture you've painted for everyone?" Silence enveloped the room, heavy with unspoken words. My mother stood, shifting from foot to foot, the struggle evident in her features. "Do you think I built this life for myself? Everything I did was for you. Was it for me?" I pressed, feeling every ounce of courage coursing through my veins. "Or was it merely to uphold your image? Your status?" A flicker of something passed behind her eyes. "Regret? Fear? You don't understand the complexities involved," she faltered, her voice softer now. "Life isn't as simple as you believe." "Then explain it to me." My heart pounded furiously against my ribcage, the impatience in her tone chiming like a bell in my ears. Before she could respond, I felt Lydia's hand tighten around my wrist. The anchor of her presence pushed me to confront this storm, reminding me of the unbreakable bond we had forged. I needed to fight not just for myself, but for the truth, that flickering light that threatened to break free and illuminate the lies. Unbeknownst to her, my mother had traveled deeper into her web of deception than she could ever envision escaping. "You think you can keep twisting the story forever? What about Lydia, the woman who loved me like a daughter? You've robbed me of the truth for too long." "You don't understand." My mother's voice shook but didn't falter. "Lydia is not what you believe her to be." "What do you mean?" I clasped Lydia's hand, drawing strength from our shared bond. "She is the only one who has shown me genuine love, the only truth I can hold on to. Love? My mother's laugh rang hollow, echoing off the ornate walls. You think love exists in this family? In this world? It's not that simple, Emma. Lydia, but you know her better than anyone. I interrupted, breathless with urgency. You've watched her sacrifice everything for this family while you hoard your power. You strangle the truth with your greed. No! My mother shouted, her volume rattling the fragile atmosphere. You will not turn this around on me. I made choices to secure our future, to give you everything you'd ever want. What I want is the truth. I felt my voice rising, mingling powerfully with an unseen force inside me. I want to know who I really am without your lies. In that moment, the tension grew thick, pulsing like a live electric wire. I could almost sense the conflict teetering on the edge of my mother's composed facade, struggling against the torrent of emotions that roiled just under the surface of her leisure. The clock ticked in rhythmic anticipation as the realization hung in the air that even the strongest of facades could tremble. All it would take was one small crack in the carefully curated wall of the world she had built around me. Just then, a sudden sound interrupted the charged atmosphere. Footsteps, hurried, echoing down the hallway. I turned my attention toward the growing noise, my heart sinking as the figure appeared in the doorway, an unexpected intruder into our perilous dance of truths. Emma. It was Daniel, his face flushed with urgency, panic straining his features. I've been looking for you. You need to see this now. For a moment, the tableau was frozen. My heart leaped to my throat, dread creeping back in as his frightened expression widened, fear dancing in the depth of his gaze. Something's happened, something huge. It's about your mother. As his words crashed over me like a wave on a stormy shore, a new burden settled on my shoulders. A revelation was close at hand, but would it open up new avenues for understanding or plunge me deeper into this chasm of chaos? With a swift glance at Lydia, who looked just as bewildered, I steadied my breath and summoned what courage I had left. My mother's hold on me might have been strong, but the irresistible pull of the truth was far stronger. Show me, Daniel, I said, resolute but trembling at the uncertainty that loomed ahead. With a nod, he turned on his heel, and I followed, wrestling with the swirling emotions inside me. The echo of unresolved conflicts between my mother's empire of deception and the growing truth I carried began to chip away at my resolve. What further secrets would Daniel unveil, and how would it change the fragile landscape of my choices? As we stepped out of the golden glow of the foyer and into the uncertain shadows, a single question pulsed in my mind: what awaited us on the other side of this revelation, and would it be the key to unlocking my past or the final shackle to my true freedom? The air outside was thick with the scent of impending rain, a sharp contrast to the chaos that swirled within me as I hurried behind Daniel. Each step felt like a countdown. I could feel Lydia's presence like a weight at my back, steady and grounding amidst the uncertainty. She had once taken my hand, and now my heart clenched as I felt her breath quicken beside me. Daniel led us through the lavish corridors of the house, the gilded edges of our lives feeling more suffocating with each passing moment. I wondered fleetingly about the things I had taken for granted: the grand staircases, the opulent chandeliers, and the overwhelming silence of rooms that housed not warmth, but secrets. As I reached the door where Daniel finally stopped, I felt a split second of hesitation wash over me. It wasn't merely uncertainty about what lay behind, but the realization that once I stepped through this door, there would be no turning back. Emma, listen to me. Daniel's voice was low, almost a whisper, as he turned to face me. What I'm about to show you, it could change everything. Just promise me you'll be ready for it. Ready? I echoed, my voice tinged with skepticism as my mind raced through the implications. Can I ever truly be ready when it comes to my mother? He hesitated, his eyes flashing with concern. Just stay close, okay? With that, he pushed the door open, revealing a small room bathed in the harsh glow of fluorescent lights. It was a study of sorts, cluttered with boxes and papers strewn haphazardly on the desk. But it was the image on the desk that stole my breath. A photograph, worn and frayed at the edges, capturing a moment frozen in time that I stepped closer, my heart pounding as I picked it up. The image portrayed a younger version of my mother, laughing, her head thrown back in genuine joy. Next to her stood a man whose features mirrored mine perfectly, a man I'd never known. A thrill of recognition raced through my veins, mingling with dread. "Who is he?" I asked, almost breathless, glancing back at Daniel. "Your real father," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "At least, that's what I think." My chest tightened, words hanging unuttered in the air. "My real father?" I echoed, the weight of the revelation settling like a physical presence upon me. But how could this be? "My mother never, I know, but there's more," Daniel insisted, motioning for me to look closer. He gestured toward a folder lying askew on the desk. "There's a letter. It talks about everything." Something amid this storm of emotions urged me forward, and I opened the file with trembling fingers. Each typed word appeared to unravel not just my family's facade, but a lifetime of uncertainty. The letter spoke of fear, of secrets kept to protect, but also of love, that familiar exhaustion of trying to hold everything together while falling apart. As I read, the ink blurred with unshed tears. The words outlined a tale of betrayal and arrival that had cast shadows on familial bonds. My breath caught sharply in my throat as I turned another page. There were details about trust shattered by greed, about choices made under pressure, and a plea for understanding, a cry that seemed to echo my own feelings of isolation. "It's not just about who your mother is," Daniel grated, cutting through the stillness. "It's about who you are too, Emma. You have a choice now, an origin story that could redefine everything." I felt a tug at my heart, the specter of potential definition rising before me, but buried beneath it was a bitter root of anger, curling fiercely around my insides. "And what if I don't want this?" "Then fight against it," Lydia chimed in, her voice a soothing balm against my turmoil. "But first, you must understand it. The truth, however painful, can clarify who you are and what you stand for." At that moment, the gravity of her words settled in. I'd spent my life lost in the shadow of my mother's image, tethered to a narrative spun with threads of half-truths and silenced secrets. But what if I could construct my own story? What if I could choose to rewrite everything and not just escape the lies, but emerge with new clarity? As I struggled to process the letter in my hands, something caught my eye. In the bottom corner, a small note, hastily scrawled, "Lydia knows what happened that night. She can tell you everything you need to understand." Chills ran down my spine as the implications of that note hit me. I looked at Lydia, who stood still, her expression unreadable, a mix of sadness and something darker lurking behind her warm demeanor. "Lydia," I breathed, urgency coating my voice, "what do you know?" Before she could respond, a loud clash echoed from elsewhere in the house, shouts, breaking glass, and the piercing sound of fear reverberating through the walls. My heart raced as the panic in Daniel's eyes mirrored my own. The world we had just begun to unravel was now in danger of collapsing completely. Without thinking, I seized Lydia's hand, determined not to let this moment slip away. "We need to go. Now." In the chaos that followed, the shadows in my heart began to writhe, the truth of my family's past becoming clearer yet more menacing than ever. We raced down the corridor, towards the sounds of distress, not knowing if we'd be met with more deception or the revelation that could finally set me free. What awaited us felt like a storm brewing on the horizon, its thunder rumbling with every step we took. Would this chaos bring us closer to understanding, or plunge us deeper into despair? As fear and determination mingled in my chest, I knew that the answers I sought did not lie in the past alone but in the choices I was about to make amidst the swirling storm. The air grew heavier as we darted toward the cacophony, a growing tempest of footsteps and rising voices converging somewhere within the depths of the mansion. The soft carpet beneath my feet, usually a source of comfort, now felt like a snare, each step drawing us deeper into the chaos that threatened to consume us. "Daniel, what's happening?" I yelled over the din, my voice barely breaking through the veil of confusion. "I don't know." he shouted back, urgency painting his features. But it sounds like a fight. Maybe something went wrong with the party. While fear gripped my heart, a flicker of hope ignited within me. Perhaps this was my chance to expose whatever dark secrets had been buried for so long. If I could confront what lay behind the walls of this grand facade, maybe I could finally reclaim my story from the grip of others' narratives. As we turned a corner, the shouts escalated, and I could make out words like trouble and betrayal. The sound of glass shattering made my stomach clench tightly. Then, suddenly, a woman's voice rang out above the din, fierce and unyielding, a voice I recognized. "Get away from her. You can't control this," it cried, the strength in her tone seeming to push back against the shadows gathering in the hall. A pang of familiarity shot through me like a current. Lydia. Without even thinking, I pulled Daniel behind me and raced toward the source. The echoing clamor grew deafening, but my adrenaline surged as I approached, my heart pounding in sync with the fury I could feel building within the house. We burst into a large room, the lavish furnishings now seeming grotesque compared to the chaos surrounding them. Lydia stood at the center, her figure silhouetted against the backdrop of embellished frames and elaborate tapestries. Her arms were raised, confronting a group of men who surrounded a trembling woman, the maid. "Lydia! Stop!" I shouted, stepping forward as urgent ripples of fear coursed through me. "What is going on?" "Emma!" she exclaimed, her eyes darting towards me with a combination of relief and apprehension. "You should." Before she could finish, one of the men turned sharply, his gaze locking onto mine. "Stay out of this, kid," he barked, his voice dripping with arrogance and threat. "This doesn't concern you." "It does concern her," Lydia retorted fiercely, stepping protectively in front of the maid. "And we won't let you intimidate her any longer." As the tension in the room crackled like static electricity in the air, I could feel the weight of secrets pressing down on us like a physical barrier. The woman, barely able to meet my eyes, trembled but stood resolute, drawing strength from Lydia's presence. "Who are these people?" I implored, shifting between fear and a desperate need for clarity. "What do they want?" "They're here to take her away," Lydia replied, her voice suddenly low and heavy. "To silence her. She knows too much about your mother's past." A chill coursed through me, freezing the blood in my veins. The truth echoed like a funeral bell, a reminder of what lay untold. "What do you mean? Why would they want her?" Before the maid could respond, the men advanced, their faces a mask of ruthlessness. "Enough with this nonsense," the leader snapped, taking a step closer to Lydia. "You don't know what you're messing with." "No, but I intend to find out," Lydia shot back, her voice trembling but fierce. There was a strength in her that sparked something deep in my chest, igniting determination to fight against the devastating tide of fate that sought to drag us under. Just then, the glass door swung open, and light flooded in like a beacon, shocking in its suddenness. Another figure stepped through the threshold, and I froze, recognizing the tall silhouette even from a distance. "Stop!" My mother's voice filled the room, laced with authority and a desperation I had never known, one that cascaded like a tidal wave through the stagnant air of the mansion. Stunned gasps filled the room as all eyes turned towards her. A maelstrom of unspoken words hung between us, but before I could grasp the magnitude of her appearance, the men's expressions shifted from schadenfreude to palpable alarm. "Ms. Gregory, you should not be here," the leader warned, losing the harsh edge to his voice. "This is a matter we can settle without involving you." But my mother squared her shoulders, fear and defiance mingling in her demeanor. "If it concerns Emma, it concerns me." Every ounce of tension funneled into that single moment, as though the world held its breath for the resolution of ages. My heart hammered loudly in my ears, a rhythmic reminder of the storm swirling inside of me, rising against years of silence and fear. "Leave her out of this, Phoebe," the leader spat, desperation creeping into his tone. Phoebe, my mother's name, was a revelation that wrapped around my heart, both comforting and unsettling. A new facet of understanding crashed over me, illuminating the darkness that had obscured my truth. Why should I? My mother challenged, standing her ground. She deserves to know everything. As determination rose in the pit of my stomach, a small, flickering ache of hope began to settle alongside my confusion. I longed for clarity, but now that it was imminent, I felt so unbearably unprepared. The walls were shifting, truths ripping free, yet where they might lead remained terrifyingly unclear. Suddenly, a noise erupted from outside, a cacophony that morphed into screams. The storm I felt brewing within my heart had come to a head, ominous and unyielding. My breath quickened as realization spread through me like wildfire. "Daniel, we need to go," I gasped suddenly, torn between the urge to dive into the fray and the instinct to protect Lydia and myself. The world I'd known was unraveling, and I was perilously close to losing everything, but just as I turned to flee, my mother caught my eye, her expression shifting with electricity and fear, her gaze catching something more than just the chaos in the room. There was a moment of silent acknowledgement, a connection forged anew, and it filled me with a sense of raw urgency that I glanced at the shivering maid, the tapestry of lives entwined and unraveling before us. "No!" I shouted, resolute against the tide of despair threatening to overwhelm us. "We're not going to let this happen. We'll fight." "Emma," Lydia whispered, her voice cutting through the roar. "This isn't just about us anymore." In that defining moment, the next steps loomed before us like the precipice of a cliff, and it was impossible to know how far we would fall or if we would fly. As the first raindrops splattered across the window with memories and echoes of lives lived and loved, my heart beat wildly in my chest, and then, the shocking truth hit me hard, like a final wave crashing against the shore. If I was ever to reclaim my story, the journey would lead me down tangled paths, into the heart of flames, where my past and my choices would soon collide with extraordinary consequences. The air cracked with the weight of unresolved conflicts as the wailing sirens from outside morphed into a more menacing undertone. The clarity of my decision rumbled through me, a choice made irreversibly in the face of chaos. Around me, the mansion trembled, echoing with secrets desperate to claw their way out. "Emma, think." Daniel's voice was tinged with urgency, pulling me out of the storm of my thoughts. "They're not just going to let us leave." "I know," I replied, my heart racing as the shadows in the room swirled with the impending confrontation. "We have to make them understand. The truth can't be buried anymore." Lydia sent me a fierce nod, her gaze unwavering. Our tentative alliance was no longer just about her standing up for the maid, it was about all of us reclaiming our voices. The trembling woman beside her edged slightly closer, emboldened by the solidarity. "Your mother's right, Emma," Lydia said quietly. "There's far too much at stake. I haven't known you long, but I've learned that running only delays the truth." The leader's sharp laughter cut through the thick tension. "You think any of that matters? You're delusional if you believe speaking will save you. This is bigger than you, and it's never been about choices or stories." "Then tell me what it's about," I shouted, my voice cracking under the pressure of the gathering storm. "Tell me what you're so afraid I'll uncover." His face twisted in something like rage, revealing a hint of vulnerability that caught my breath. "You're a pawn in a much larger game, girl. Your naivete is amusing, but it won't save you." "Enough." My mother's voice thrummed with a cool authority, a spark that ignited my hope once more. "You think you're powerful, don't you? But everything you're doing is rooted in fear. The people in this room, my daughter, the maid, Lydia, they're stronger than you give them credit for." Desperation plucked at my heart, steeped in a tightly woven tapestry of love and fear. "We're not powerless," I declared, stepping forward, my voice gaining volume. "You won't silence us any longer." The leader instinctively backed away, surprise etching his features as he shot a glance at his companions, whose uncertainty only added to my burgeoning confidence. The tide had shifted, but the perilous waters still churned beneath us. Just then, Lydia's arms wrapped tightly around the maid, shielding her even closer, and it was in that moment I saw the seams of loyalty and bravery being stitched together. The maid lifted her chin, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. "I won't let them control me anymore," she declared, her voice rising higher with each syllable. You took my life away when you forced me to serve in silence, but not anymore. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm as hope spiraled into possibility. We stand together, I said, glancing at each of them, my mother, who was no longer just this distant figure of authority, Lydia, my unexpected ally, and the maid, a woman whose strength was now emerging like the first light after a long night. The leader's confidence faltered, his insistent demeanor wavering under the shifting alliances. You're making a mistake, he warned, his voice laced with a warning I could no longer take seriously. We're making a choice, Lydia shot back, standing tall as the storm outside roared furiously, shaking the very foundations of the mansion. In that pivotal moment, I felt a spark of gratitude towards Lydia. Even amid chaos, she had offered strength and resolve that I had needed without realizing it. But just as I gathered the courage to voice my intentions, a chilling realization washed over me. A loud crash echoed outside, followed by screams of panic that spiraled into an unearthly cacophony. A moment, abrupt as fire, lit our fates with an all-consuming fear. Could this truly be the end before the reawakening? Emma, stay close. My mother commanded, but the urgency in her voice transformed into something else entirely. Hands grasped at the edges of my reality, and I felt the pull of indecision. With a single moment of precious clarity, I bolted toward the door, a primal instinct driving my flight. We have to get out of here, I yelled over my shoulder, the fear for our lives reigniting the adrenaline within me, and then, as fate would have it, the door swung open with such force that it crashed against the wall, revealing a chaos I never anticipated, sirens blaring, emergency lights flashing, and the figures in dark uniforms scurrying across the yard like phantoms of judgment. My heart lurched, a sinking dread hitching in my throat. Run! Daniel yelled, but his voice was lost in the chaos that engulfed us. Just then, among the officers, a familiar face emerged, a face I hadn't seen in years, yet one that held a recognition I had long forgotten. The world seemed to slow as I realized who it was, my estranged father, his countenance a tight-lipped mask of revelation. Emma! He shouted, eyes wide with alarm as he made his way toward me. A sense of urgency threaded through the line of his body. 1,000 questions stormed my mind in that instant. I had expected many confrontations today, but was prepared for this? The world fell away as I locked eyes with him, but the realization tightened around my heart, an emotional net trapping me between two worlds, one that could lead to the liberation of long-hidden truths, and another that threatened chaos further still. Emma! Daniel's voice cut through, the moment tallied against my instincts of belonging. Torn between the safety of what I understood and the unknown, I took a step back, fear mingling with hope building toward a storm whose true nature lay shrouded beneath the surface, and just like that, the revelations promised by this fateful day hovered in the air like a breath, the air heavy with the weight of decisions yet unmade, friendships burning under a searing clash of past and present. Emma! My father's voice stood against the tempest roaring around us, calling my name, a beacon amid the unraveling strings of our lives. The moment hung suspended, thick with potential, a delicately woven tapestry where the threads could unravel or merge in a vibrant mosaic of truth and healing. Choices bore consequences, and I stood on the precipice of a choice that could alter the fate of many forever. Yet the decision remained hauntingly uncertain, my heart thundering as the next moment approached, the weight of gravity tugging me slowly toward the unknown, when the world crashed into chaos once more. Standing there in the midst of chaos, I felt the surreal weight of everything crashing down around me. My heart raced, a violent drum echoing the panic that surged through the room. Sirens blared in the distance, their wails intertwining with my tumultuous thoughts, a cacophony that mirrored the storm within me. Each face surrounding me, my mother, Lydia, the terrified maid, even my childhood friend Daniel, was charged with emotion, tethered to the moment that could change our lives forever. Run! Daniel's voice sliced through my internal tumult, an urgent command that resonated with my instinct to protect and flee from the chaos that threatened to consume us. But just as I turned on my heel, the sight of my father breaking through the crowd sent tremors through my core. The man I had spent so long avoiding, the embodiment of my past, was now a bridge to my future, a future warped by the choices made far before I could even comprehend them. Emma! My father called, his expression taut with worry, urgency gripping his tone in a way I had seldom witnessed. I hesitated, torn between his desperate plea and the fierce love I felt for Lydia and the maid. "I'm here to help." Help. The word echoed in my mind, reverberating like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. I wanted to believe him, to trust that the man I had once idolized could be the savior I needed. But the knot of betrayal still coiled in my gut, a reminder of the years stolen from me, his failures, my mother's machinations, the tangled lives that formed around me. "Get out of the way!" shouted one of the officers as he rushed past, a dark uniform flashing like lightning in the already chaotic scene. "Emma, stay with me!" Lydia's voice interjected, anchoring me in the present. I turned to her, desperation mingling with my emerging resolve. She stood tall, poised for anything coming our way, her strength a shimmering light amidst the impending storm. "Whatever happens, we face it together." With a rush of adrenaline, I glanced back at my father, seeking something, just one sign that he could be the man I needed him to be, a protector rather than a barrier. "You disappeared," I whispered fiercely. "You don't get to walk in here and expect me to just follow you." He ran a hand through his hair, his expression one of deep conflict. "I know I failed you, Emma. But there's no time. They're after something far bigger than us." Daniel's grip tightened on my arm, pulling me back toward him. The fear in his eyes ignited a flicker of clarity. "Emma, listen. If we're going to confront this, we need to stand together. But first, we need to get out." My mother's voice cut in, laced with authority that I had always regarded as a shield of cold steel. "You need to come with me, now." Despite the firestorm swirling, there was desperation in her tone that triggered something in me, a small glimmer of the love I once craved from her. I looked from her to Daniel, from Lydia to my father, and felt the overwhelming weight of the choices before me. What do I want? It was a question that resonated with the utmost importance, one that would determine what would unfold next. "Emma!" A sudden shout from the maid caught my attention. "This is about your mother's past. If we don't act now, they'll silence us all." Those words struck like a lightning bolt, illuminating everything I had learned in this turbulent past week. Every choice, every heartbreak, all unfolded to this fateful intersection where the truth could either shatter us or forge something unbreakable. A moment of clarity settled in. This was not just about fighting for love, but about breaking free from the chains of lies that had bound us for far too long, and with that clarity surged a newfound resolve. We can't run anymore. I choose to confront the truth whatever it holds, I declared, my voice steady but filled with emotion. Lydia's hand slipped into mine, grounding me further. "I'm with you, Emma. Always." I shifted my gaze to the maid beside Lydia, whose face held a mixture of fear and strength. "What is the truth?" I urged, desperation mounting again. "What do they want?" "They want control," she said, tears glistening in her eyes. "Your mother's past is their weapon. But it's also our strength. We can't let fear silence our voices any longer." A sudden understanding bloomed, painting a vivid picture of what lay ahead. I knew the battle ahead wouldn't be easy. It would come with heartbreak and anger, but it would also be laced with the possibility of healing. Outside, the storm raged, punctuated by sporadic flashes of lightning that seemed to chase shadows from the sky. Our moment of indecision shifted as that echo deepened in my heart. This is our moment. We need to stand together, face the storm, and rise above it. Before I could second-guess myself, I turned to my mother, her apprehensive gaze locking onto mine. "Tell me the truth. Tell me everything. It's time to stop hiding." Her breath hitched, and in that moment, I saw her as she truly was, not just my mother, but a woman haunted by choices and expectations. "Emma, but before she could elaborate, a loud crash echoed outside, followed by angry shouts that threatened to drown us in chaos once more. The men moved restlessly among the officers, their desperation palpable. "Time's running out," Daniel called. "We have to move." I took a deep breath, the weight of my choices mingling with the swell of determination rising inside me. Lydia, stick with me. Daniel, stay close to her. My mother, we need you to be honest. I demand it. Without waiting for affirmation, I turned toward the door. If this was the storm I had to face, I would breathe fire in its face. I stepped forward resolute, unwavering, and felt the strong grip of Lydia's hand alongside mine. Together, I murmured, a soft promise tying us as one, with strength to face whatever awaited us. And together, we forged ahead into the unknown, embracing the truth that would forever redefine us. Behind us lay the life I had known, but ahead flickered the promise of freedom, of authenticity, the power lying in the choices we boldly made. As I stepped into the tempest, I finally realized, it was not just about the past or the battles I fought for family, but about reclaiming love in all its forms, love for myself, for Lydia, for the bonds that held us together. Whatever happens next, I declared, voice laced with fierce intention, I choose this moment. I choose us. And with those final words, I embraced the storm, ready to confront every hidden truth as we charged into the heart of the chaos, together unbound, together unstoppable.